You ever see a whole room go quiet not because someone walked in, but because something just stood up and walked? That's what happened the day Elijah McCall made a robot walk across room 204 of Ashridge High. And yeah, he's a black kid. The kind they said couldn't do it. The kind they laughed at, including the teacher. Especially the teacher. But let me back up a sec. Because this story didn't start with gears and wires. It started with silence. The kind that follows you through the hallways when you've spent your whole life being invisible. Elijah had mastered the art of disappearing. Hoodie up, headphones in, eyes low. He moved like a ghost through Ashridge High, and no one cared unless they needed a target. And in that school, Mr. Paulson, the veteran physics teacher, was judge, jury, and executioner when it came to respect. Paulson liked the loud ones, the varsity jackets, the National Honor Society crowd, the ones whose parents donated benches with their names on them. But Elijah? Nah. He was the background, the punchline, the what's your name again kid. So when Paulson announced the annual physics showcase, Elijah already knew how it would play out. "This is your shot," Paulson had said, pacing across the room, his sleeves dusted with chalk like he was sculpting some masterpiece. "No posters, no fluff. Impress me." The class leaned in, scribbling ideas. Elijah didn't move. He had something different, something real, something he'd been working on for 5 damn months in secret. After class, Paulson called him out. "McCall, you actually submitting something this year?" Elijah nodded. "Yes, sir." Paulson barely looked up. "Let me guess. A vinegar volcano? Or maybe a YouTube ripoff with blinking lights?" Elijah's voice didn't shake. "I'm building a robot." There was a beat. Then Paulson laughed. Not a chuckle. A full, mocking bark that bounced off every wall. "A robot?" he said, wiping his glasses like they were fogged up from the nonsense. "All right, that I gotta see." And just like that, Elijah became the new school joke. But here's what nobody knew. Elijah wasn't some wide-eyed kid playing with toy parts. He'd learned precision the hard way, through pain, through discipline, through fire. See, before he was the quiet kid with a soldering iron, Elijah McCall had worn a different uniform. He spent 3 years in the Army, stationed overseas in forward operating bases where malfunction meant death, and gear had to be built from scratch. He wasn't pushing pencils. He was patching drones, decoding enemy signals, recalibrating surveillance bots while mortar shells whistled overhead. His hands had seen blood and battery acid. His eyes had seen friends carried off in bags. You learn to build under pressure when your life depends on it. But when he came home, the GI Bill barely paid for community college. His PTSD made social settings unbearable. So he hid in the back of a high school class he was retaking, just to finish what the war interrupted. He never told anyone, not even Maria. Maria Lopez was the only one who ever saw Elijah, like really saw him. She sat 2 rows behind, sharp as a whip, always offering snacks during lab or whispering jokes when the tension got too heavy. She was the first person to say, "You don't talk much, but when you do, it counts." So when Paulson mocked him and the class laughed, and Elijah went home to that freezing garage, staring at his half-finished prototype of rusted servos and broken boards, Maria was the one who texted, "You've got this. Don't let that clown rent space in your head." Elijah didn't respond, but he powered up his soldering iron anyway. He worked through blisters, nights that bled into mornings, burned out motors, fried boards, code crashes. The garage smelled like metal and stale coffee. He scavenged parts from junkyards, spent his savings on a new gyroscope, and rewrote his C++ scripts like his life depended on it. Which, in a way, it did. One night, after his robot collapsed again for the 4th time, he just sat on the floor, back against the wall, palms over his face. Tears, real ones. Because sometimes the ghost inside you whispers, "They're right. You're nothing." But then a buzz. Maria again. "Proud of you, no matter what happens." And that simple sentence felt like armor. Elijah got up, rebuilt, recoded. He renamed the script, Desperation Run V1.cpp. By Friday night, the robot took its first real steps, slow, clunky, but upright. Elijah recorded it on his phone. Just 10 seconds, just in case it never worked again. The next morning, he carried it to school in a beat-up box lined with old t-shirts. His hands shook the whole way there. Kids whispered, "Yo, I heard Elijah brought a toaster." Bet it just farts smoke. Even Paulson sneered when he walked in. Didn't think you'd show, McCall. Figured you'd chicken out. Elijah said nothing. When it was finally his turn, the classroom fell silent. He placed the robot on the floor, flipped the switch, and waited. And then, like a miracle, it walked. 1 step, 2, 3, across the damn room. The laughter died, jaw drops, gasps. Maria clapped first, loud, proud. The rest followed. And Paulson, the man just stood there, watching. His arms, once folded, now hung limply at his sides, the smirk gone. Elijah looked him dead in the eye and said, "Guess I didn't electrocute myself after all." That line, legendary. By Monday, the video had hit 300K views on TikTok. Black vet builds robot from scrap after teacher mocks him was trending. By Tuesday, local reporters showed up at school. By Wednesday, CNN was calling. The mayor's office issued a statement applauding youth innovation in underserved communities. The actual police chief tweeted, "We stand behind veterans like Elijah McCall, heroes in and out of uniform." But it wasn't all praise. Comment sections exploded. Some called him a genius. Others said the whole thing was staged. Trolls dug up his military records. Someone posted old photos of him in uniform trying to discredit him. Maria got harassed online for helping him cheat. Paulson? He clammed up, issued a half-hearted statement about encouraging STEM diversity. The school board launched an internal hearing. Lawyers were involved. Parents were split. Half called for Paulson's resignation. The other half defended him, saying kids these days are too soft. One teacher, Ms. Geraldine Poe, testified anonymously. Elijah built that robot with no school funding, no mentorship, no lab access after hours. He did what we should be teaching: resilience, resourcefulness, self-respect. She was put on administrative leave the next day for violating internal speech policies. Elijah? He was caught in the middle. Overnight fame, endless interview requests, emails from MIT, Georgia Tech, even Tesla. But he couldn't sleep. One night, Maria asked him straight, "Are you going to sue or speak at the hearing?" Elijah sat with it, the weight of that choice. He could forgive, move on, rise above, or he could expose Paulson, tear down a broken system. "Thing is," he finally said, "I didn't build that robot to get revenge. I built it because nobody believed I could." "Yeah," Maria said, "but what about the next kid?" There it was, the dilemma. So when the hearing came, Elijah stood before the school board and press and gave a statement that shook the room. "I don't want to destroy anyone," he said, "but I do want change. Not for me, it's too late for that, but for the next quiet kid, the next ghost in the back of the room." The board voted to remove Paulson from classroom duties. Ms. Poe was reinstated. A new after-school robotics program was launched, named after Elijah. But not everyone was happy. Paulson's supporters called it cancel culture. Online hate escalated. Elijah got death threats. His mom's house was tagged. Police were investigating, but slow to act. One night, a local officer, Detective Marcus Fields, showed up at Elijah's door. "Off the record," he said, "keep your head down. These people, some of them aren't just mad, they're dangerous." That same officer was reassigned a week later. But Elijah didn't hide. He showed up at the STEM Expo with a reinforced case, a new suit, and his head high. His mom in the front row, Maria beside her. His robot, sleek, upgraded, walking smoother than ever. And when the winner was announced, Elijah McCall, Ashridge High. The applause was thunder. He stood on stage, blinking under the lights, Maria crying, his mom gripping her heart. Paulson? Nowhere in sight. And then came the final scene, the one that stuck in everyone's mind. As the crowd cleared, one reporter asked, "What's next for you, Elijah?" He looked down at his robot, then out at the cameras. "I'm not done walking yet." But here's the part nobody agrees on. Was Paulson just a product of the system or part of the disease? Should Elijah have gone further, named names, sued for damages? Some say he was too soft. Others call him a class act. What do you think? Did Elijah do the right thing, or should he have burned it all down? Tell us in the comments, because sometimes justice doesn't walk in a straight line. Sometimes it stumbles, recalibrates, and keeps going anyway. And if this story hit you, share it, because somewhere out there, another kid's still building in silence, waiting for someone to believe.